It feels like there's a big difference between living in a car and an RV, and it might be tempting to think that people living in an RV have everything they need, but is that the case?
Yeah, though that's a great question. There is a very big difference often between living in a car and an RV. It depends on the car and how the build out of it is. But they have different requirements as well. It's much more difficult to find a place to park an RV. RVs often, because they're required, many cities have oversized vehicle parking restrictions that require the vehicle to park in industrial zones. And that has an effect on the vehicle itself, because many industrial zones are full of rats, right, and other sorts of vermin that are quick to eat the wires and the hoses that are in the engine. They're quick to make nests actually inside the engine, and that can destroy the engine and make the vehicle inoperable relatively quickly. And so this is one of the reasons why many vehicles that are oversized RVs that are parked, like, again, in urban areas down by the Home Depot in the industrial zone tend to be inoperable because they tend to have had damage from rodents eating their systems. So that is a particular challenge. If you're in a trailer, of course, you're going to need a way to pull the trailer. That can be challenging. And in general, RVs are very visible in that sense, right? So when a person sees an RV, there's an immediate assumption that there's a person living in the vehicle and that they may be homeless, particularly if it's on the streets. There's a lot of stigma that's associated with that, both externally and internally for the person inside the vehicle. And one of the advantages of living in a passenger-sized vehicle is it's easier to what people call stealthing, right? So it's easier to sort of hide the fact that you're living in the vehicle and be able to park in a wider range of spaces, right? So it might be easier to park down by the water or to park near an accessible shower or a laundromat if one needs to do their laundry, where it'd be really difficult to say park an RV there. In addition, if a person wanted to say stay in an emergency shelter or temporary housing, it would be much easier to be able to park a car near that if there was a space for it than an oversized vehicle.
You just mentioned inoperable RVs, and I know that in some cities there are parts of the city where there's a lot of visible RV residency, like lots of people living in RVs, but a lot of those RVs are inoperable because they've had either rodent damage or some other kind of breakdown, or they're just older. What are some of the challenges facing people who have invested in an RV and now cannot move it?
Yeah, it's the challenges are legion, and often the damage that's caused. I mentioned rodents, but it's not just rodents. A lot of times it's vandalism as well. I've met many people who've had their windows broken out, that had their tires slashed, that are living in their vehicles. That of course makes it inoperable. So the challenges of it being inoperable is that often it makes it a legal target for seizure. Because an inoperable vehicle in many communities, in fact, there's even some states that have a law or trying to pass laws that make it so that an inoperable vehicle can be immediately cited as a junk vehicle, is what they refer to, and then seized off the streets. And of course, that means that the person who's living in there loses not only their shelter, which is probably one of the most important things that they would lose there, but of course their financial paperwork, their housing paperwork, their legal paperwork. Often the vehicle contains their most valuable property from when they lost their housing that they've moved into the vehicle, so they face losing that as well. So it's one of the other challenges too is that many parking programs, particularly safe parking programs, and some of the earlier supportive parking programs, do not allow for inoperable vehicles. And so that would be a barrier, is that if you have a number of RVs that are being lived in and a large amount of them are inoperable, and the vehicle needs to be operable in order to go into a parking program, then all those people who are living in those inoperable vehicles would not be eligible for that parking.